Hey everybody, Uncle Creepy here for Dread Central, and we're doing something special for the Halloween season. What I'm doing right now is I'm going to give you 31 film choices, one for each day of the month of October, to make sure your Halloween viewing is as spooky and fun as possible. Today's pick is 1999's Idle Hands, directed by Rodman Flender. And this little flick starred Seth Green, who is best known for the Buffyverse around that era, and Devon Sawa, who is in Final Destination. And this movie is one of the few that brings together the comedy genre and the horror genre flawlessly, and it has a lot of nods to other horror films like Texas Chainsaw and stuff like that. So if you're looking to kick off your Halloween viewing pleasure with something fun and something kind of spooky and maybe even a little silly, you're not going to do any better than Idle Hands. It's hard to have an essential Halloween horror playlist without at least one of the Amityville movies, but I'm not talking about the original here. I'm definitely not talking about the remake or the one with the clock or the one with the dollhouse or anything like that. I'm talking about 1982's Amityville II The Possession from Italian director Damiano Damiani. The movie starred Burt Young of Rocky fame, so if you ever want to see, hey, Paulie in a haunted house movie, you're really not going to do much better than this. But it was probably one of the more accurate movies in the franchise, even though it was wildly fantastic, but at least it focused on what really happened to the DeFeo family, which was tragic and sad, but also really scary. And the movie kind of plays it from the possession angle, and that's a little bit scarier than seeing James Brolin stoke a fire or complain that a lion statue bit him. So if you're looking for sprites with a recognizable, real haunted house, I would go with Amityville II The Possession. George A. Romero, Stephen King, two of the biggest icons in the entire horror industry, came together for an anthology called Creepshow way back in the 80s. And it had just a star-studded cast, and it basically was like a big homage to EC Comics, and it plays like a comic book, and the movie's brilliant on every level. So if you're looking for some short-form entertainment wrapped in a long-form, robust horror package, Creepshow. Go get it right now, watch it, you'll thank me later. Even if you've seen it already, you know how good it is, and you'll thank me anyway. And that's what I'm here for, your adoration. So please, thank me, sweet. William Friedkin's The Exorcist, the seminal classic based upon the book by William Peter Blatty. Here's a movie that it was so good it kind of ruined possession movies for everybody else. Like, you can't do a possession movie anymore without being compared to The Exorcist, and the reason being is if you go too far, it's cheesy. If you don't go far enough, it's lame. So here's a movie that's so good it really ruined the subgenre for everything else. And when you watch it, you can see why, because for a movie made in the 70s, it stands up as good, if not better, than any other movie about possession or demonic possession since. So no list would be complete without The Exorcist. The power of Christ compels you to watch this one. What happens when Dracula, Frankenstein, the Wolfman, and the Creature get together for one movie with the Mummy? Well, you get the Monster Squad, baby! Fred Decker's The Monster Squad. One of the finest examples of Hollywood horror done right. Basically, it was almost like this weird rehash of Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein, only with children. But these kids were so great in their roles, and there's so many iconic things that came out of the Monster Squad, like the red Stephen King Rules t-shirt that you see at every convention, the scary German guy and his pie, and of course the Wolfman and his nards. So do your part, support the squad, kick the Wolfman square in his nards, and watch this movie this October. For the love of God, please someone get this spirit back his medal. If you want chills, if you want frights, if you want scares with an A-list cast, you need to see director Peter Medx the Changeling. You may have to work a little bit for this one, as it's not that accessible, but if you're a horror fan, you probably already have it in your DVD library. But you can find it online. It stars George C. Scott, and it is really one of the better, most original and most terrifying haunted house films you will ever see. So do yourself a favor. If you don't already have it, track down The Changeling, but not that Angelina Jolie shit. That's really lame. Back in 1980, director Stanley Kubrick brought Stephen King's The Shining to life, but really it was his own version of Stephen King's The Shining because it was a lot different from the book, but it was also one of the few films that really put Jack Nicholson on the map as an actor, and no one to this day does crazy better than Nicholson. But this movie, man, it's one of the few movies I can honestly say scared me when I was a little kid, and I think it was mainly because of those two little girls, and if you've seen the movie, you know what the hell I'm talking about. But yeah, this is, if you see a list of movies you should watch, horror, Halloween, or otherwise, and The Shining's not on it, call bullshit, because it should be on it, and you should be watching it. Anthologies seem to be a dime a dozen, but when one stands out from the others, as was the case with Creepshow, you gotta sit up and take notice. And that was exactly the case when Michael Dougherty brought Trick or Treat to the world. And although it was a tumultuous ride to get here, once it did land, Sam and his minions and all the spookiness he brought with him made a splash with horror fans, and for good reason. If you're a fan of True Blood, if you're a fan of horror in general, there's everything to find here. It's probably the best anthology film since Romero's Creepshow, and here's to hoping that there's a sequel soon, because they have been talking about it, but news has been a little sparse, so fingers crossed, alright? Trick or Treat, the perfect Halloween movie in every sense of the word. Although I guess you could say I prefer The Woman in Black for obvious reasons. I'd be remiss if I didn't include 1988's The Lady in White on your Halloween essential viewing list because, well, it's literally one of the few perfect Halloween tales out there, and it really explores the genre and everything that makes Halloween good and fun and, more importantly, spooky. So Robert Lelogie's film, it just got released by Scream Factory on Blu-ray, so you have no excuse not to track it down, and even better, there's a few versions of it, so check them all out, see which one's right for you, and I guarantee The Lady in White will be visiting you every Halloween. Stephen King has a very twisted mind, and one of the few adaptations of his work that captured that in its fullest is Mary Lambert's Pet Sematary. It really captured the essence of King's story and brought it to the big screen in a really frightening way. And if any of you are acquainted with it, I'm sure you'll agree with me that Zelda, she's probably one of the scariest things ever put to film. The movie's awesome from top to bottom. If there's one complaint, I don't really think a kid that was hit with a giant truck would be looking that spry and happy looking, but I guess it worked in its own little way. And Pet Sematary is definitely required viewing for you and everyone in your family, if only to learn the values of keeping your pet on a leash, man. If they did that, none of this would have happened. And screw having an outdoor cat. I have cats. I'm not letting them out. Screw that. And this movie, the very reason why, because I probably would go find an Indian burial ground and hope one of them came back to me and I'd be thoroughly screwed. But anyway, Pet Sematary is a must-watch. And if you're in the mood for some mean-spirited fun, well, Pet Sematary 2 ain't bad either. It's not up to the caliber of the original, but you know what? It's pretty naughty, so do it. Pet Sematary. Watch it, love it, live it, enjoy it. I know what you're saying. There's a lot of Stephen King on this list, maybe even an inordinate amount, but you know what? When you're doing a list like this, it's impossible to do it without mentioning the work of Stephen King, because he's brought to life so many vivid characters, both in novel, short story, and even comic form. We got Cycle of the Werewolf adapted for the screen in the form of Silver Bullet, which starred Gary Busey, Everett McGill, Corey Haim, and a big fuzzy werewolf, the identity of whom was kept secret until the end. But if you watch really carefully, you can totally play along and kind of guess who it is, but don't do that because it kind of destroys the fun. Watch the movie for Corey Haim, Gary Busey being batshit nuts, and one of the coolest looking werewolves, even though it was a little overweight. I should talk about being overweight. But anyway, watch the movie, love it. One of the best werewolf things you'll see. And again, werewolf, Stephen King, what's not to like? Director Kevin Tenney brought the world one of the finest examples of the Halloween-themed horror movie when he brought Night of the Demons to the life in the 80s. Here's a movie that has everything. Punk rock, hot chicks, loser guys who become heroes. I mean, it was the perfect formula for Halloween fun. It takes place in a veritable funhouse. The whole movie plays like walking through a Halloween haunt, and it has so many memorable moments, including one with a breast and a tube of lipstick that I don't think anyone's ever forgotten after they've seen it, because you just can't unsee it, you know? It's that type of moment. But yeah, this is one of those movies I highly recommend, and if you're really feeling adventurous, I would also look for Night of the Demons 2, which featured one of the most badass nuns, yes, badass nuns, to ever grace the screen. Both movies, perfect double feature. If you can get only one, probably the original Night of the Demons is easier to come by, but I recommend doing both. So yeah, think of these two films as one recommendation. They're creepy and they're kooky, and they were brought to the big screen in grand fashion when the Addams Family opened up in theaters, and it starred Raul Julia as Gomez Addams. It had the best casting you can imagine. Christopher Lloyd as Uncle Fester. The movie's just fun from beginning to end. A little too much music for my liking, but it's so bizarre, and the humor is so subversive that it's a movie that should be seen, especially around Halloween, if you're looking for a little bit of goofy fun that doesn't take itself too seriously, but does deliver just the right amount of spooky. Check out The Addams Family. You won't be sorry. There are a few movies that are on this list, admittedly, that are current, because honestly, the quality of films has gotten a little weird over the years, and people aren't embracing the fun Halloween aspect as much as they should, because things have gotten a little darker in the genre, and I like that because that's how I like my horror. But I would be remiss if I didn't give a ridiculous amount of props to the latest Goosebumps movie. This movie had me bouncing in my chair like I was an 11-year-old. If I was 8 years old and I saw Goosebumps on the big screen, I would have thought it was the greatest film ever made. And for a movie like that to be able to tap into that childlike wonder in me, that says a lot. So if you haven't seen it, maybe you're not a fan of Jack Black, put all those reservations to the side. Check out Goosebumps. And if you have a 3D TV and you have the tech, see it in 3D, because it is an absolute blast. It may not give you goosebumps, but I guarantee it'll have you smiling from ear to ear, and R.L. Stine is very pleased. You know, it's hard to even talk about the next one for me, because it conjures up so many wonderful memories that I had from being a kid and being a horror fan, and it's one of those few pieces of work that hit all the right buttons. What I'm referring to is Rankin and Bass, who did all those really cool claymation, stop motion TV specials for Christmas, at one point threw their hat in the ring and decided to celebrate Halloween, and the results were just stunning. It's one of those movies, Mad Monster Party, that it touches you in a way that it just warms your heart, man. It's so much fun, and even though it was made many, many decades ago, it still stands up. And as a matter of fact, every time one of my personal friends has a baby, I always send them Mad Monster Party on DVD, because it's the perfect cut your teeth and introduction to the genre, especially for a child. And you know what? For those of us who grew up watching it and grew up loving it, it's every bit as good now as it was then. And God bless you, Mad Monster Party. You had a big part in my formative years, especially you, Boris. Oh, how I loved you. You know, when putting together a list of Halloween viewing essentials, it's kind of hard to think that something made by Disney would be on there. But if you're at all familiar with the genre, and of course author Ray Bradbury, then you know that Jack Clayton's adaptation of his classic tale, Something Wicked This Way Comes, more than earns its spot on any list. I mean, it is essential Halloween viewing. I believe it's available on a DVD with is it Mr. Toad's Wild Ride? Oh no, wait, that's The Legend of the Headless Horseman. That's available with Mr. Toad's Wild Ride and Something Wicked This Way Comes is separate. But the reason why I make that confusion is Adam Green bought me both DVDs one time, so to me they all blend together. But I will say that Something Wicked This Way Comes, it is the embodiment of the Halloween season. And don't guffaw at it because it's Disney and you've never seen it because you're a horror fan and you don't want to see any Disney movies. They're not doing so bad by Marvel. They're certainly not doing so bad by Star Wars. And their ability to make a really quality movie, even in the horror genre, kind of shines in Something Wicked This Way Comes. So do yourself a favor. Head to this carnival. You won't be disappointed. Curses, man. I mean, a lot of films, a lot of times people think that when you're working in a horror movie, there's always going to be something spooky going on set, and that's not always the case. But sometimes a line is drawn and something happens that defies all rational explanation, especially when it involves the tragic death of a film's star. And unfortunately, The Crow, an adaptation of James O'Barr's graphic novel, it bears that distinction. Its star, Brandon Lee, was fatally killed while making the movie. And it gets no tragic than that, and it gets no scarier than that. And that's not to say that it's scary in a commercial way. It's just, it's heartbreaking, really. And I believe that The Crow would have made him a superstar. The only problem is he never got to enjoy that. And while he never got to experience that limelight, the movie is a gift for fans, and we will always hold him in our hearts, especially because the movie is so very badass. Take flight, see The Crow. Only the original, though. The other ones were terrible, especially that second one with that guy who I couldn't even understand. It was like, "What the band of a familiar gulp?" I have no idea what he said, but it's good enough to just ignore it. So yeah, check out the original The Crow. Face it, you cannot have Halloween without the Headless Horseman. And while the last Sleepy Hollow movie left a little bit to be desired, the one thing it did capture perfectly was the character of the Headless Horseman. This movie has more beheadings, and more incredible beheadings, than just about any other horror film I've seen. Its visuals are spectacular. Johnny Depp left a little to be desired as Ichabod Crane, but if you're watching Halloween-themed horror movies and Sleepy Hollow isn't on your list, you're doing something wrong. So hey, watch it for the head-spinning, flying, cutting action, and enjoy yourself. It's a spooky treat that goes great with a bowl of popcorn and a real big jug of soda, like the big kind. You know what I mean? Like the kind that's fuck it. You know what I'm saying? Check out Sleepy Hollow. With Halloween, John Carpenter brought a character to the horror genre that was a force of nature, that was evil incarnate. So evil, it didn't really even bear a name. It was referred to as the Shape, but to everyone else, it was Michael Myers. And Halloween stands as just one of the most seminal films of our genre, and probably one of the greatest films in it we'll ever see. And, you know, it's almost heartbreaking when you think about the journey this particular character and this movie has taken over the years. It's gone from different storylines, branching storylines, different takes, different remakes, different sequels to remakes. It's a shit show. It really is. But John Carpenter's original film, no Halloween is complete with that. And honestly, the title says it all. What's in a name? There's a whole hell of a lot in a name. And if you need an example of that, probably the most sterling example of that, look no further than Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. Halloween 3, the third part of the Halloween franchise, unfortunately is much maligned, and that's sad because it's also one of the best films in the genre and probably the franchise, even though it is the bastard child for obvious reasons. But people lost their shit when the movie did not contain Michael Myers. And while that's tragic, what we did get was an incredible 80s Halloween themed movie filled with so many visuals, filled with so many laughs, so many of the coolest deaths ever captured on screen, and of course that lovely, lovely song. How many days is it to Halloween? One listen will tell you every time. One of several anthologies found on this list, if you will, is Tales of Halloween. And Tales of Halloween sets itself apart from the other anthologies because here you have some of the best filmmakers working in the genre. Neil Marshall, Darren Bousman, Axel Carolyn, Mike Mendez, Dave Parker. I mean, they're all there, and they've all delivered such a kick-ass Halloween-themed time for fans of the genre who want to celebrate it, who want to celebrate all aspects of it. There's something, literally, for everybody in Tales of Halloween, and that's why it belongs quite possibly near the top of the top 10 of your Halloween viewing pleasure. Seriously, it's that damn good, it's that damn fun, and it belongs in your video collection now. Go, get the limited edition filled with other short films that didn't make the cut. Films like Andrew Cash's Thirsty, based on a tale from Joe Netter, starring Joe Lynch of all people, who went on to make Wrong Turn 2, Everly, and a bunch of kick-ass movies. Really, this is a package that you could start watching at 5 o'clock, and at midnight you'll probably still be delving into the extras and all the other fun stuff that's involved. So yeah, Tales of Halloween, make it your business to check this one out. Werewolf movies, unfortunately, are a dime a dozen. Good werewolf movies are anything but. If you're looking for a really good werewolf movie that you may or may not have seen, but I can guarantee you're either a fan of or gonna be a fan of, look no further than Ginger Snaps. This movie is the embodiment of the kick-ass horror film taken from a completely different standpoint that you probably never even thought of before. It has to do with what happens to this poor young lady played by Catherine Isabel when that time of the month comes around. And let me tell you, menstrual blood isn't the only blood shed in this bad boy. It's kick-ass, it's hairy, scary fun, and you need it on your list. That's right, Ginger Snaps. It spawned 2 sequels, and if any justice happens in this world, maybe it'll get revisited soon, but I kind of doubt that. But you never know. Everything else is getting the remake, so maybe we might see a Ginger Snaps TV show. I mean, Catherine Isabel is a regular on several TV shows, so hey, studios, make it happen, huh? Something worthwhile, please? As society continues, regular haunts just aren't good enough anymore. People want something more. They want something more visceral. They want something more in your face, something more hands-on, if you will. And that's exactly the type of haunt that's on display in the found footage movie, The Houses October Built. Now, I know what you're saying, found footage movie, shaky cam, yada yada yada. Well, it's all there. Every trope you could possibly think of that you don't like about found footage is completely on display. But what sets The Houses that October Built apart from that, usual crowd of stuff maybe you don't want to watch is the atmosphere created and the haunts that were used. I mean, real haunts were used in this movie. So in effect, it's like going through several haunted houses that you probably would never have made it to in hopes of coming across that one that maybe is just a little bit darker, one where maybe the ghouls and the ghosts and the murderers don't exactly stay put after you leave. That is, if you can leave. Looking for some Halloween haunt fun with a big dash of horror? Check into The Houses October Built. The next film on our list is one of the first roles from actor Stephen Dorff, and I refer to, of course, The Gate, a movie that is so good it belongs on every Halloween list, and every good movie list, and every good horror movie list. On every list you could think of that has something to do with the horror genre, The Gate should be there. And why? Because it has literally everything from heavy metal, to giant demons, to little demons, to even specters who live in your friggin' walls, man. We're talking chilling stuff with a fun cast and fun direction from director Tibor Takas, who's at his very best with The Gate, and it's something you don't want to miss. If you don't have this in your collection, you need to fix that like yesterday. It's available on DVD from Lionsgate. You could probably find it streaming on sites like Netflix and stuff like that, and you deserve to have this. You deserve to see it, and it deserves to be on your list this Halloween season. The Nightmare Before Christmas bears the unique distinction of being both a Halloween and a Christmas tale. And that's friggin' mind-blowing, man. But even though it has very good Yuletide overtones, don't be mistaken. This is very much a dark animated film for adults, even though some kids, if they're cool and you got cool parents, will enjoy it. So that being said, parents, I'm talking to you. You have kids out there, raise them right. Let them cut their teeth on horror films like Mad Monster Party, like Nightmare Before Christmas, like Paranorman. Don't begrudge your kids the ability to grow up the way you did, okay? Spooky is fun. Spooky is adorable. And if spooky is handled right, then spooky can be a good part of every child's life. Look at me. I grew up okay, right? Beetlejuice. 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 Why doesn't this ever work? Why? I've been trying since the 80s, man. I even seen Winona Ryder once, and I just walked up to her, and I tried to get her to do it with me, but she just wouldn't do it, so... Yes, I'm recommending Beetlejuice for you. Me? I've done it all, I've seen it all, I've been through it all in the horror genre. But I have one regret, and that one regret is not growing up during the era of William Castle. Here's a guy who invented viral marketing, okay? He would make his movies events. He'd have ambulances outside of theaters. You'd have to sign waivers. There were buzzers implanted in your seats. And with this next recommendation, there were actually floating skeletons thrown out over the audience during the movie. I refer, of course, to the original William Castle classic, House on Haunted Hill, which remains to this day one of the single most spooky and fun movies I've ever seen. I mean, it has it all. It has walking skeletons, severed heads, hands reaching around from corners, bodies hanging from nooses, apparitions. This movie is an A to Z guide about how to have a really fun haunted house movie. And William, I wish you were here today, and also the film star Vincent Price. Every movie needed Vincent Price. Every movie to this day needs Vincent Price. And God love you guys. God bless. Such a classic. It should be watched every day, not just Halloween. Growing up in the 70s, yes, I'm showing my age, my life was changed at age 3. Long story short, when my parents fell asleep, I used to wait to hear them snoring, and then I would jet out into the living room where we had this big-ass black and white console TV, and I would watch TV all night. And one night I was in there, and I was flicking through the channels, and I saw this newscast about the dead returning to life. And I nearly shit my pants, right? I ran, not walked, ran into my parents' bedroom. And I woke them up, and I said, listen, the dead are coming, and we got to get to rescue stations, okay? I remember saying those words, and they were uber pissed, man. They thought that I was having some sort of nightmare, but I dragged them into the living room, and I pointed at the TV, and of course, what I was talking about was George A. Romero's Night of the Living Dead, which featured that really famous newscast scene. And that night, I got my first spanking, man. And as I was laying in bed, I realized that even though I was completely terrified, I was still 100% safe. And Night of the Living Dead can still do that. It's still a very polarizing film. It still has so much to say. Its relevance keeps going on. It's a masterclass in terror, and Night of the Living Dead is something that should be on everyone's list, no matter what type of list it is. What's this? A TV movie? Well, listen, back in the 70s and 80s, TV movies were actually really good. We got classics like The Gargoyles. We had classics like Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. And on October 24th, 1981, on TV first aired The Dark Night of the Scarecrow. And believe me when I tell you, it doesn't matter if it was TV, direct-to-video, even VOD nowadays, or theatrical. Dark Night of the Scarecrow is goddamn scary, okay? goddamn scary. It starred Charles Durning. It was directed by Frank D. Felitta. It's just, there's so much I could tell you about this movie, and so much I could say. I could literally sit here and expound on it for like the next half an hour, but rather than you do that and you end up watching me for a half hour talking about Dark Night of the Scarecrow, go watch it yourself. It's on Blu-ray, it's on DVD, it's not hard to find, and it'll blow your mind. As horror fans, we share an unfortunate bond. Sometimes people look at us and they think that we're freaks, or they think we're irregular, or we don't fit in. Well, you know what? We fit in with each other, and in the end, that's what it's about, because it's the rest of the world, as far as I'm concerned, who are the freaks. But not fitting in is a key point in this next recommendation for your Halloween Horror Essential viewing list. It's Lucky McKee's May, and it featured a poor, disconnected youth played by Angela Bettis, who just didn't fit in, who had no friends. So what did she do? Well, she made her own, and she made it in grand fashion. She made it in a way that would have had the great Dr. Frankenstein grinning from ear to ear. It's a hell of a movie, it has a hell of a message, and to this day there's nothing else like it. You need a good friend to get cozy with on your couch this Halloween season? Snuggle up to May. Just don't mind the stench. Satan's Little Helper from writer-director Jeff Lieberman, who you may know from Squirm. In this movie, it tells the tale of this little kid who's jealous of his sister's boyfriend, so he dons his Halloween costume and he heads out in search of the devil. And he finds a serial killer dressed like the devil and convinces him to come and kill his sister's boyfriend, which goes to show you that this little kid is an idiot. All he had to do was just not be a jealous douche and keep playing his video games. But no, now there's bloodshed, now there's murder, now there's horror. But thank God he did that, because we got one hell of a movie out of it. So listen, Satan's Little Helper, put him on your list. He may not be Santa, but I can tell you Big Red is a hell of a lot more fun.